Hi, I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and I have a fun holiday project that you can make. Actually, it's good for any time of the year, but at the holidays we love to give quick gifts, and this is really a fun one. So let me show you really quick. This is a hanging tea towel or hand towel, dish towel, whatever you want to think, but it goes over the bar on your stove or your oven, which is really pretty cool. Now I got to tell you a fun little story about this. I was doing some research trying to figure out what project I think would be fun, and I was talking to the folks in the office with me, and I said, I'm going to do this really cool towel. And don't you know, 3 days later I go to a quilt retreat and one of my good friends gave me this towel. So let's look at it. It's really, really super cute. So this towel has the two different fabrics here, and what makes it really unique, one of course is the fact that my friend made it for me, and I just thought the timing was absolutely perfect, right? But what's really cool is that when you take this off, it looks, here's the front of the towel, here's the back of the towel. Okay, so what you do is you hang this, oops, sorry, we'll come back to the big one. We're going to put this over your stove, your oven handle, and then you are going to go this way actually. You come over and then you slip this in and give it a pull, and then of course your little handle should be a lot smaller than my arm, but then that will just come up and snug right in there, and then you can dry your hands and whatever you need, and then when you're ready to take it off, you just grab this and give it a pull and it comes right off. So anyhow, I just thought this was beautiful, and if you have sewing friends, think about making something for them, because people say, oh, she sews so she doesn't need anything. You know what? If you sew, you know that you would appreciate something that's handmade, and because you know how much time goes into it. Okay, so here's another example of one. I'm going to walk you through how to make these, and so this is one right here that I use the same fabric on. This one, the tab and the band are the same fabric. Oh, you're getting a sneak peek. Look, isn't this not cute? Look at this. So I did the embroidery down here, and look, just some buttons on my little band to make a little snowman head. Isn't that funny? I love it. Now, this one is really cool. Moo. I mean, seriously, that's just funny. So this obviously is not necessarily Christmas, especially with the daisies and everything, but it's stinking cute. And what was fun about this towel is that, well, there's more parts. I'm going to get to that in a second. So let's talk about making one of these towels. So I'm going to take one towel that I have right here. Now you really want to have a towel. Let me set these off to the side real quick. You want to have a towel that's about 27 by 20 inches. So this one's 20 inches by 27. This is going to make two hanging towels. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I want to remove these tags because we do not need them, because we're going to have our own hanger and we don't need the hanger on them. So let's just take that off right quick, and you know, of course you can get as close as you want at home, but there, now I have no hanging tags. But I am going to take them and I want to cut this in half. So you can measure and you can use your rotary cutter if you like. That's always a good way. Or you can fold it hamburger style, right? And then I'll just take, oops, reach over here, get my big scissors, and I'll just chop him off. I'm going to chop him in half, okay? And this will make two towels. Okay, so we've got our towel pieces. Okay, now let's talk about the top. So I'm going to set one of these off to the side over here, and then the one that we're going to use, I'm going to put him right here. Okay, we're ready to go. We got those two. Okay, let's talk about the fabric. This is really easy. We need to take a piece of fabric that is, this is selvage to selvage. This is exactly how it came off the bolt. I have my fold here and my 2 selvages here, and we're going to cut a 7.5 inch strip with a fabric. And let me just put this here because I'm working on a smaller mat today, so I'm just going to fold him in half again. You don't have to do that at home. And I'm going to cut this right here, get rid of that one. Now I want to do 7.5 inches. So I'm going to line the edge up with my marking on my rule on my mat, and I'm going to go over to 7.5 inches, line that up, and we're going to cut that. Okay, so you just need a 7.5 inch strip. Now, out of every 7.5 inch strip that you have, and every hand towel, you get 2 complete towels. So this is enough fabric for 2 tops, and we have the 2 bottoms here. So let's look. We're going to start with one. We're going to just do 1 top. So I have my 1 bottom, and I'm going to take my 1 top. Now, for the top, I'm going to come to that same fold, this is off the bolt, right? It's folded. And I'm going to put my scissors right in the middle there, and I'm going to cut right down that fold, and this is gone, and this is the piece we're going to use. Okay, so we have 2 parts to our towel, don't we? We have the top piece and we have the band. So the band, we want to cut him at 7 inches. Okay, and this is all going to fluctuate depending on your width of fabric, but the top being 7 inches is perfectly fine. And we want it 7.5 inches wide, and we're going to do 7 inches on the 7 inches here. Okay, 7 by 7.5. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to actually iron this. This is what you would do. We'd take it to the ironing board, and you would iron it in half, so it's 7.5 by 3.5. Then you're going to take your raw edges and move them to the inside, and then you're going to press that as well. So now you have a band that is 7.5 inches long. Okay, so I'm going to take that, and let me take a quick little pin, and I'm going to pin him together just so I have him. Now your remaining piece of fabric that you have is going to be about 14 inches long. Okay, so let's take a look and see how long this one is. This one is 15 inches to about right here on the selvage, which is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and let's cut that selvage off for the most part, because we do not need that white poking through in. Oops, I got to open my cutter, and now we're ready to go. Okay, so now the other thing with this one is we don't need this to be 7.5. We actually want this to be 7 inches. So I'm going to cut off a 1/2 inch. The reason why this needs to be narrower than the band is that the band needs to be a little bit longer to accommodate the bulk of the towel itself. So that way we get a nice, it will lay really nice on that one. Okay. All right, now this piece we're just going to hold off to the side for a second, and let's talk about, I told you I was going to talk about this towel. The red one was the same, it was just red, right? This decorative towel is a little bit different because it had the cow on both sides, which was awesome because I got twin moos, right? So that's pretty cool. This one is a beautiful towel, but the back is different, but it's still really pretty. So you're going to get two beautiful towels. You might have find a pretty printed one like this that's completely plain on the back. We'll put an embroidery design or something on that. So, but every towel, remember, is going to get you two complete towel sets. Every 7.5-inch strip of fabric that you cut gets you two tops. So it's perfect. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the sewing machine, but before we do, I'm going to fold this in half, right sides together, and give it a good crease. Okay, so I have a nice crease, and if you're at your iron, take it over and give it a good press. So I need my towel, I need my top and my band and my pins, and we're going to go to the sewing machine. Okay, so now on here, another thing that's going to help is quilt clips. Okay, what we're going to do, well, there's one thing that we're going to do, and I'm going to grab my ruler so I can show you. Or actually, there's even a ruler right here on my machine. So to get the cute little tucks, let me show you the difference here. So you'll notice that my cow is completely flat. He's just a flat piece because I could not give him tucks or I would lose the cow. I wouldn't see him. But let's go back and take a look at the original. And this is the one that I'm going to show you how to do. The original has these cute little pleats in them. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. But when you're working with a towel, look at the towel you have and then decide if you need to leave it less pleats, no pleats, whatever you want to do. In fact, if you think it's cute, gather it if you want to. Okay, but our goal is to have this piece fit into this amount of space. Okay, so here's our piece, and what I want to do is find the center, the very center of the top cut. This is the cut edge up here. So we're going to find the center of that, and I'm going to just put a little pin right in that. Okay, so there's a pin to mark my center. Now what we're going to do is we want to measure on either side of the pin 2 inches. Okay, now I have my ruler down here, but I also have the markings right on the bed of the machine, so I can come over here and get to my 2. See the 2 right there? That makes it really easy. I can just come and mark with a pin right there. There's 2. Okay, the next place that it wants me to mark is 6.5. And the reason we want to mark at 6.5 is because that's how wide our whole band is, right? So I cannot go, I don't want to go all the way to 6.5. It's actually, I need to go to 3 3/4 because it's going to fold up to be 6.5. Okay, so there's those 2. So let's fold that and let's mark on the opposite side because I have those there, and I'm just going to pin and match the pins on the opposite side as well. Now, if you're working on a white towel, you could use a a fabric marker to do this if you don't want to use pins, okay? But there are all of our marks. So what we're going to do here, this is the very center, so this is going to be our flat part. So what I want to do is on the 2-inch, we're going to fold that back, right? Make a nice press, and I want to meet that guy right there, the 3 3/4. Okay? And I'm going to pin them together. I know my hand's in the way. I'm going to move it in a second, I swear. So I met them together and I pinned that in place. Now let's do that on the other side. So fold it back on the 2 and then bend it back, making a cute little pleat. And then we're going to pin it in place. Okay, so now we have our little tucks. Okay, now what we want to do is make sure that the overall size, length that this is, gets to be 6.5. So if I measure out from here to 1/2 6 1/2 is 3 1/4. So I'm going to measure to 3 1/4. And that's that piece right there. And I'm just going to fold that back on itself. Okay, so you have the cute little hanging, and then there's our piece there, flipped underneath, and we'll just pin it into place. Okay, cute little tuck. And this one, we can make sure we match it up the same amount so it's even, but we should end up with a 6 1/2 inch piece. Okay, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to pin that in place, and then I'm going to just do a quick little top stitch along this edge so that way it won't come apart on me when we're putting it all together. I usually like to do this within my within the seam allowance, so under a 1/4 inch. I want to make sure I can get that because I don't want it showing. Okay, it's probably not a 1/4 inch here, but it will be when you do it at home. Okay. All right, let me take that last pin out and then we'll just stitch them down. Okay, so now this is really forgiving because if you make it a little bit smaller than 6 1/2 inches, then you can just adjust accordingly, or if you make it a little bit bigger, then just adjust that way too. Okay, so what we're going to do is set the towel part down aside, and we're going to take this piece that we folded right sides together, and we're going to tuck this little guy in. But before we do, we want to top stitch around our band. So I'm going to top stitch at about 1/8 of an inch all the way around my band, and let's turn up the speed so it goes a little bit faster. There we go. So I'm going to stitch down one side, and then I'll just pivot around, and then we'll go up the other side. And you can do whatever distance makes you comfortable. You can do 1/8 of an inch, you can do a 1/4 inch, whatever you want to do. Okay, so now that I have my band done, we're ready to insert it into the top fabric. See, I've got it top stitched. Okay, so we're going to take this, and when we put it in, we're going to set it inside right at the fold, nestle it deep, just right in that fold. You see how they're just right in each other? And then we're going to make them, match them up, and you're going to pin that so it's tight in that fold. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to match this up about 1 inch past the edge of the band. So the band, one edge is here, one edge is here, and then I'm going to pin again just about 1 inch down so I have my edges matching. Okay, now let's go take a look at the other side. Our band, remember, is 1/2 inch longer than our main fabric. So we're going to stuff it back inside so it will match up. I'm going to get that top edge nestled right into that fold. Okay, and they're all matched up. Now I'm going to pin that in place, and then I'm going to pin again about 1 inch down. Okay, right here. So now I have that pinned here and pinned here, and we're going to stitch from here to here and from here to here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to secure this stitch because this one I don't want coming out. So I'm going to stitch that. I'm going to stop for my pin and take my pin out, and then we're going to keep going here, and I'm going to reverse before I get to that pin and lock that in place and cut the fabric thread. Okay, now let's do the other side the same way. Again, I'm going to do a back stitch at the beginning, stitch a little bit back, and keep going. And then when I get near that pin, before I get to the pin, I'm going to take that pin out, and then I'm going to stitch down to the next one, and before I get to the pin, I'm going to reverse it, cut my thread, and then we're good to go. So now we have our band inserted into our fabric. But what we need to do is also attach this, okay? So what we're going to do is take our fabric, I fold back the one flap, and I have one flap here. And I'm going to put right sides down, and I'm going to match the raw edges with each other. See how that is? And I have about 1/4 inch of the fabric on either side of my towel, and I'm just going to do a quick little pin of this. You can use quilt clips as well if those are more convenient for you, whichever makes you happy. And I'm going to just pin this down, and then we will stitch across it to secure it to our fabric. So we have our layers all together. Okay, we're almost done, believe it or not. Okay, so here we go. We're going to take this and just stitch this down. And again, I'm going to stop, take the pin out. Should move my pins over here so they're in a better spot, huh? Okay, so then we're just going to keep going. Stop, take that pin out. Stop. And the reason why I'm stopping is because, you know, there is a chance that you could miss the pin because it's horizontal. However, if you hit a pin, you're not only going to damage your fabric, which could damage your, the needle, which could damage your fabric, but you might actually really mess up the insides of your machine. My fabric is twisting right there a little bit, so I'm going to get it contained a little bit better, and then just sew off the edge and cut my thread. Okay, so now we've got our little guy here. He's stitched to the one side. So now what we need to do is stitch them all together. So I'm going to take him and roll him up and stick him inside the little pocket that we made by sewing our band in there. Okay, so now here's the fun where we're going to really pin around. We need to pin at the top. Get that nice and straight and even. Pin across that. And then we're going to go down the sides to make sure that those are nice and the edges are all together. Okay. Okay, so now on the edges, I'm going to make sure that towel is stuffed in there, that it's not going to get in my way. That pin, I did not do a good job of pinning it. And then we're going to pin down the side. And we're going to pin down this side completely. I'm just going to go all the way down. And this is where the stitching stopped right here. So we've got that pinned all the way. This side, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to stop right here, leaving a hole because we need to turn it right side out. And this is going to be so fun. The next part is actually my favorite. Okay, so here's my pin. I want to leave this open. So I'm going to start sewing right here. And I'm going to do a good back tack. Now that I have it down, I'm taking that pin out. Put my pins up here so I can get it done. So I'm going to stitch, back tack, and then I'm going to come down here. Now you want to work with your needle down function because when we get down here, we want to stop with our needle in the down position, pivot, get rid of that pin, and then we're going to work our way around the towel. Okay, I'm stopping because I have a pin. And we'll continue on. Stopping because I have a pin. And then up we come, and here's the other pin, so I'm going to stop right there, take the pin out. I can do another 2 stitches or so, and then I'm going to rotate, and then we're going to stitch down, and we're going to match up with the stitching where it ended right there. So now, can you see how the fabric's kind of popping out? You can see the brighter fabric. That's the right side of the fabric, so I just want to make sure that I hold that correctly. And in fact, I think I'm going to add a pin just to keep it from slipping out and becoming crooked. crooked. Okay, so now we'll just stitch our way down and stopping for the pin. So another way that you could do this for like this edge is you could use like Quilter Select glue stick and get that so we don't need the pins, you can just glue it shut. Okay, now I've run over where I started, so I'm going to use my reverse key and then cut my threads, and now we're almost completely done. So let's take this off of the machine, and here it is. We've got our little opening there, so we'll just got to do something else first. Before we turn it, we need to trim our corners. So I'm going to go in at a fairly big angle. I don't want to cut the thread of my corner stitching, but I want to cut the fabric of that corner stitch. Okay? Because we are going to be turning this right side out, and there's a lot of bulk in those corners. So let's trim those all down so we have them trimmed up. All right, now let's pull it out, and we're going to turn it to the right side. And there he is. And then to get those corners out, all we need to do is give it a little tug from the strap or the band, and that pulls those corners out just so beautifully. And he's ready to go. We just have this hole right here, so give him the whole thing a little tug. Tuck those little edges under, and we can finger press, use the edge of your fabric, whatever you, or I'm sorry, the edge of your machine to kind of, I kind of warm it up that way, but I'll put one pin in there to hold that shut. So now let's do our final stitching. So he needs to go, the band goes to the back. Okay, and then that way when he comes across, he's in the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch all around this whole rectangle here. So to do that, we're going to put the band side up and shift it out of the way so we can see the edge of our fabric. Okay, I know that's going to be hard to see, but you've got this little band. So you pull him off to the side there, and then we're going to do our little stitch in there. Let me see. Can I fold it so you can see? Can you see that better? There you go. Okay, so I'm going to just stitch along, and when I get to the point where I can't really finagle it anymore, I'll pull that guy out of the way, and then I'll stitch some more. Then when I get to the edge, I'm going to put the needle down, raise my presser foot, and pivot, and then we're going to go down the long side. Okay, there we go. And what I'm doing right now is not only doing a cute finish, right, but it's also closing up that hole. And I just took the pin out, and then we're going to come down to the bottom. And then when we do stitch across the bottom, it's going to keep that fabric nice and flat, and it will look really nice even through the laundry. Okay. So now I'll rotate it. This little guy needs to pop out a little bit more. Always a good idea to go to your iron and do that. And then we stitch him up. Now, as we come back up, here's the tab. I need to get that tab out of the way. And we're going to sew inside the tab and then come back and join up, closing off the top. The top stitching that we started with. So there's needle down, rotate my fabric, get that out of the way a little bit, and then we will just stitch up until my stitching ends right there, or where it began. All right, okay, let's reverse and cut our thread. And now we have our towel complete. Yay! Yay. Okay, so let's take a look at our final project here. So here's our towel, and you can flip this over. Got to think about it. There's our bar. We put our bar here. You're going to slip this in to here, and then you give it a tug, and it will be perfect, perfect, perfect. And before you give it as a gift, just give a nice little press to the whole piece, and then it will be lovely and pretty, and it will be perfect. So have fun making these towels. They go really fast once you've done one and you get the hang of it, and you'll be able to do, remember, every one towel and every 7.5 inch by width of fabric will get you 2 gifts all at one time. So it's really fun. So enjoy experimenting with different printed towels and different types of towels, which is so much fun. And you can also, again, embroider, add buttons, do all sorts of fun things. So enjoy making herds of these.